Welcome to Fishing Without Bait. Whether you've got hooked by accident or on purpose, you've stumbled into our little corner of the world where we help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. There are no admission fees, only the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. If you have a few pixie dust sprinkles of those, welcome aboard. Jump on the bus, let the adventure begin. And as always, I'm Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist. And as promised, we offer an eclectic roster of guests, talented individuals who have got from there to here. And as everyone knows out there, we enjoy talking about recovery stories, inspirational type of sermonettes that help people understand how to get things done, then let them show how to get things done. And today we're joined by our friend Tim Vitullo.
Hey.
Tim, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much for having me.
So if you had to describe yourself, if let's say there was aliens came down and they picked a representative from the human race and Tim was representing the human race and you had to make a case for humanity based on you, what would you say?
Probably a little bit of a workaholic, sometimes a little artsy-fartsy and creative, other times very analytical. I like to use both sides of my brain and probably work them a little too hard sometimes.
Okay. Well, I would generally ask people, Tim, do you know the difference between right and wrong?
A great question. I try to make decisions definitely that I think are right.
Do you have a moral compass, Tim?
Certainly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you be dependable?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you tell the truth?
Yeah.
Can you treat people with courtesy and respect?
I believe so.
Those are the 5 greatest attributes that a human being can have.
Yeah.
So I think that having you as a representative of the human race, I think we'd pass.
Well, good.
So as we've had Tim before on a previous episode, however, the translations of Tim's ability was lost via the virtual type of streaming event that we have. So tell us a little bit about your early background in your life, Tim.
If you want to go way back, I started playing music when I was in grade school and, taking piano lessons. And now that you're in the flesh, you can see like football was probably not in my future. I could have been maybe the goalpost. So yeah, sports in general. And that was definitely, it's funny kind of walking around. Like I grew up in that age of like WWF, WWE and all those things. So we have all these artifacts around. And again, similarly, that was not, I wasn't overtaking anybody with, being the tent pole that I am. So that was one of the first things really that was like, hey, I'm not too bad at this. This this is fun and it's not frustrating and it's not, I feel like everybody else is better than me and I'm, not able to do it.
So who recognized and who realized that you had some talent towards?
I probably by my piano teacher, definitely. He was very encouraging and he was excited that I was excited about, taking piano lessons as a young kid. And it was really nice. Like it was always, I just got a lot of positive feedback. I remember, and just was always very dutiful about like how it would always go is you would show up and you would have a week to learn 1 or 2 or 3 or however many pieces. And then you'd show up the next week and you'd have to play it through, I think it was like twice, and you'd have to get through the whole thing twice and kind of keep time or whatever.
Okay. So how did that play out with you in school, being with the neighborhood kids?
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely helped give me, a sense of identity and just an avenue to explore that wasn't, that there weren't caveats to, that it was really just wide open. And it was something that I was excited about. And definitely like getting older, as you get into your teenage years and everyone's so desperately trying to find identity in their tribe and everything. That was a great way to have something that, hey, there are other people who are interested in this and I'm, not awful at it and you're not awful at it and we can talk about it and connect on that level.
Well, one of the best ways to increase self-concept and self-esteem, Tim, is to do something that you do well and keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It definitely has been, now that I'm in my 30s, yeah, just a constant since then. It's always been a big part of my life, and it's helped as a grounding thing, as a relaxation tool, as a spark for creativity, as a motivator, in other aspects of my life. Yeah, it's really. I mean, I love music, so maybe I'm not the best source to ask, but I mean, I just the virtues of it and what it's helped me do in my life are boundless.
Well, I've heard you play, Tim, and I'm quite impressed, and we'll talk about that later.
Thank you.
However, you have to have some confidence in your abilities.
Yeah, and that's been nice. It's been nice to now I perform under my own name, whereas for most of growing up and everything, I played in somebody else's band or have played on other people's records or done things on their own under their name or under a fictitious name, and that's been a thing like later in life to go out and do something under my own name and get positive feedback from it to build that self-confidence of, hey, what I'm doing is worthwhile, and all the time I've put in is
And it doesn't matter what you're doing, Tim, whether you're washing windows, pulling turnips, playing the piano, playing the guitar, the confidence is a big part of that.
Yeah, I agree.
There's an old joke, Tim, that someone was traveling in New York City and they stopped at a corner and yelled out, says, "How do I get to Carnegie Hall?" And the person said, "Practice."
Yeah.
So you just don't show up on a stage and play.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure.
So tell us about how meaningful practice is and how that plays forth in the action and effort in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For me, it's kind of twofold, and practice has really been important for me. The first, I'm not sure if somebody pointed it out to me or I noticed it myself, whatever it was, just looking around, everybody plays a little bit of guitar, or, a lot of musicians or a lot of people play a little bit of guitar, and kind of realized, hey, if I want to do this, I really need to stand out. I need to bring something to the table that is special that not everybody else can do. And that's how I'm going to get jobs and how I'm going to get work as a guitarist, instead of people saying, oh, well, why don't you come do this instead? Or why don't, yeah, I do that. So I need somebody else who does something else. So that was really important. And really, it was very satisfying when that paid off. And I was able to get a lot of work as a guitar player because of that practice.
Well, there's an old saying in the 12-step world that you can never polish the apple bright enough.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. It's a lifelong journey with the guitar and with music.
So what was the transition from piano to guitar, Tim?
Whenever I got older, I mean, that's kind of the thing. You're a teenager, and whenever you're 7, 8 years old, your life's pretty simple, which is great. But some of the neighborhood kids started playing guitars, and the opposite gender started taking notice of that. And I remember very distinctly sitting with my friend at the time, because he played the drums in the band. It's in school band, and I was taking piano lessons, and everybody was all wound up about these kids down the street who had started a band.
Yeah.
Everybody was excited. We kind of looked at each other like Butch Cassidy, like, you can do that. I can do that. Like, yeah, why don't we give it a try? And then the rest was history. And for me, the thing is really, guitar to me makes sense in a way that not a lot of other things do. And not that like I know it better than anybody, not to imply that, just whenever I look at it and like learn new things, a lot of times it's like, it seems like, well, of course, that would be how it goes. Like that, it just like how my brain works and how the guitar is laid out just really makes sense to me. And it's something that, whereas piano, especially as I got, kept taking lessons later and later, it started getting hard.
So who did you emulate?
Early on, like the first record that was like, hey, that's what I want to do. I remember we were kind of playing, my friend and I, growing up, and he played drums. So he had the drum set, so we played at his house, obviously, because you want to haul a drum set, everywhere
Sure.
you wanted to go. And we were playing kind of the music of the day. It was like the 2000s, so like that kind of like Green Day and Blink
Uh,
182 and all those things that were on the radio at that time. And his dad came down, and his dad played a little bit of guitar. And he said, "Yeah, okay, you guys are starting to figure it out a little bit, and this is cool. But here's like the real stuff. This is the stuff you gotta play." And he put on Black Sabbath's Paranoid
oh boy.
LP.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as like a 14-year-old kid, it was just like, yes, like that's exactly what I want to do.
Okay.
Everything about it, it was, it starts out, that record starts out, there's like a blast siren going off, as like
Yes.
the band's like kicking in, and it was this something so much bigger than anything I'd ever heard on the radio to that point, any song I'd ever played on the piano to that point, or anything like that. It was this huge thing. So that kind of led me down into classic rock in my kind of very early upbringing. And it also helped, my parents always had a rule in the house, which, in hindsight is hilarious, but they said, hey, we see you're really into this guitar thing and it's great. And they said, well, you can play as loud as you want in the house as long as you play music we like. So they were very informative. I learned very quickly, if I didn't play, all the classic rock hits that they loved, my amp got turned down very quickly.
And their preference of music was?
Yeah, definitely. They grew up in the 70s, so all those great bands, Zeppelin and AC/DC and Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and everything like that. So that was all very formative and definitely informed kind of my want to become more proficient at the guitar, because all that music really heavily features these virtuosic musicians who really knew what they were doing.
I remember seeing a live performance of Angus Young doing a whole lot of Betty down in South America. He was bombing.
Yeah, absolutely, and absolutely loved just the fearlessness of everything about that. And it was cool too. I mean, as kind of a bookwormy kid, growing up, like that was such a cool outlet in a way to like be very confident and to be on a stage and like let that kind of like feral part of you out.
So you could unleash the inner Tim.
Yeah, very much so. And that was really fun, and still is fun.
Yeah, it's nice to get
this
up there
day.
like that. How do you take compliments, Tim?
Not well.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. I appreciate so much all the successes I've had, but it's always amazing to me that people want to listen to what I have to sing about or what I want to play. I'm constantly in a stupor, really, about that.
Well, my suggestion is you just smile and say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. A lot of people with humble. I see you're kind of a humble guy.
Thanks. I try to be.
Yeah.
Try to be.
But you know what? There's a big difference, Tim, between arrogance and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that you've been around a lot of arrogant people.
You do run into some egos, especially as a performer. It's hard to that's not a light switch to have that person inside of you, and it takes a lot of talent to be able to turn that on and off.
Arrogant people you want to shy away from. Confident people generally want to be with them and they will follow them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was listening to your guitar solos and you were really ramming it up, I saw a young man brimming with confidence.
Thank you.
Stage.
Thank you.
Do you have a different persona when you're up there ripping it up?
Yeah, and it depends on the crowd too, who comes. And I think that's kind of a big thing with practice. That's the part of it that's really hard for me, is the stage persona and building that character.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really nice that, not that the guitar is kind of like taken care of or anything. It is still very in the moment and very conscious, but to be confident that ability is good so that I can focus on that part of performing.
For people to develop confidence, it's quite an issue.
Yeah.
Because most people lack confidence.
Yeah.
And, sometimes in the addiction world, Tim, we kind of view people as like Tootsie Roll Pops, hard on the outside, but soft on the inside. And, but I see that I can catch on to people fairly quickly. And it seems like you're an authentic authentic person.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to be, and that's something that's really, um, yeah, it's really nice. And being a band leader now, that's something I always strive for, is to do what's comfortable, and even hiring band members. This is what I always tell people: is, hey, we have these records, and you're expected to come in and learn some of these songs to play, but you're always going to be the best version of you. Or even if we play another artist's song, a cover song, you will always be the best version of you. You will always be a lesser version of someone else.
Well, I think you have that concept. You'll do your part. You expect others to do theirs.
Absolutely, and to bring what's special about you to the table, because that other person that already exists. They're touring around, and they have their own band, and people can pay to see them. What is the special thing that you do that nobody else is doing, that we can come and makes people want to come and
And with you think that is?
That's a great question. Still trying to figure that out and make it tangible. I think the thing that's really fun right now is, um, I love improvised music. Be that jazz or blues or rock or any genre, and to really lean into that and lean into my ear and do that on stage, and to be really creative and genuinely spontaneous. I think that's really fun and exciting right
Spontaneity.
now. Hmm.
Spontaneity in life. That's it. That what separates people from the mundane.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what's unique. We're really fortunate that we get to play a lot and get a lot of work. And especially after the pandemic, that's welcome.
We always encourage people to celebrate their uniqueness. And earlier on, before we started recording, we were talking about being a 20-year overnight success.
Yeah,
Tell us about that, Tim.
yeah. I don't know of any stories, or very few, that someone kind of showed up as a fully formed artist. Maybe like Prince. Prince might be the only one, actually, I can think of, that when he started, he was a fully formed artist and had a vision, and had everything, and that's part of what makes him so amazing. Uh, it's There's so many things to learn, and so many things you have to be aware of and be knowledgeable about in music, or in any career. It just takes so much time. You can't learn all that stuff and then process it all and figure out how to serve it on a silver platter so that people find it appealing. So it's all about that for me, and I think so many other people. It's all about that incremental improvement. It's getting out there and doing it, and that's why I think it's really important to play so much. And any young people or people starting out, that's what I always say: just get up there and do it, because
Yes.
you won't get that feedback. You won't begin to grow and learn until you throw it out there and let people react to it.
On our last podcast, Tim, Mike, and I were talking about life being like a video game. And you play the game, you gain experience points. And when you get a certain amount of experience points, you level up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you level up, you develop more skill in playing the game.
Yep.
But in order to level up, you need to get experience points. And in turn, you get experience points, you need to play the game, which we come into practicing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge football fan, but I know that football games are not won in the locker room with the X's and O's. It's won out on the practice field.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's so important to practice what you're going to do and be prepared, because it is those. I mean, those special things happen whenever you can tap into that unconscious part of your mind when you're reacting to the world around you, and not, you kind of get rid of that PR time, kind of goes down significantly. Those are always the most fun musical moments for me, that I found, is, you're almost having an out of body experience. Like, it's just happening and you're a spectator of it.
We'll be back next week with our continuing conversations with our intriguing guest, Tim Vitullo. And at the end of every podcast, we offer a free prescription: fruits, nuts, and vegetables, and unplug your TV and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Make beautiful choices and invite joy into your life. Till all are free. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast. If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.